Hey, everybody. Welcome to our July monthly call. I am in Budapest right now, so this is my Airbnb right behind me. I picked it for aesthetic reasons. Also, it has really fast internet. But yeah, I've been traveling for the last about 2 months, and I'm down to my last week and a half in Europe, and I head back to the States at the end of July. So I'm very excited. All right, so it looks like we've got everybody joining. I'm going to go ahead and kick things off right now. So today is an extra special call because we have a very special guest, Chrissy Mast. So she is, I mean, she's amazing. I invited her in because she is an absolute powerhouse in the licensing world right now. She's seeing absolutely incredible success. And she's actually fairly new to it. She got started in about 2023, which means her story is going to be really fresh, really relevant to a lot of you who are starting your business now or building your momentum now. So, in addition to just getting her new business started, she is very business savvy. She had a previous business that she grew to 1 million in revenue in a year, which is incredible. And with her art business that she has now, she is insanely prolific. She's got tons of new collaborations, lots of collections launching. She's represented by the same agents that represent me, Jewel Branding and Licensing. And yeah, she's just really grown an incredibly powerful art licensing business. In her first year of business, she sent out over 100 pitches, and that consistent outreach is really what opened a lot of doors for her in the licensing world. So she's going to share what worked, how she's thinking strategically, what she's learned so far, and she is very willing to share openly. She's just got absolute gems of real talk, practical advice, and I'm excited for this presentation as well, just to hear her talk. I know we're all going to walk away feeling pretty fired up and probably more confident in our own journeys. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to Chrissy Mast. Chrissy, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm honestly so excited to be here. As many of you guys know, Kat was like my first role model I ever had in art licensing, so it feels really full circle right now. It's really cool. And that's one of the things I love about the community is I feel like we like all support each other and like lift each other up, and I think that that's really important. So today I just wanted to kind of walk through my first year, like exactly what I did for my whole first year in art licensing, because like Kat said, it wasn't that long ago. It was 2023. And a lot of the questions that I read through that you guys had submitted, and then also things I just hear from my groups and stuff is really focused on like pitching and like how did I kind of get my foot in the door and really get started. So I'm just gonna talk about that for a little while, and then we can go through questions and answer as much as I can. Okay, so like Kat mentioned, I started I started my art licensing journey in 2023. So a little bit of a backstory. I have always been an artist. I graduated school for art and immediately went to work in New York City at an advertising agency as an art director, which was like a dream job for me. But I kind of quickly realized it wasn't as creative as I wanted it to be. So I started a side business actually on Etsy. Etsy was kind of just coming into its own at that point. And I started a side business doing wedding illustrations. And I just slowly grew that business from 2012 until 2015 when I actually ended up leaving my my full-time art directing job to run that business. That business was called Miss Designberry, run that full time. That is the business that I then went on to grow to $1 million a year, like Kat said. And it was crazy and it was great. I learned so much. So a lot of what I think has attributed to my success in art licensing are like skills that I had already learned from my previous two art careers. So I just wanted to give you guys that background so you could understand a little bit. So then in 2020, the pandemic hit and weddings really took a hit. At the same time, I had my first child. I was pregnant with my second child in 2022. And I really just realized like I really wanted to pivot. I didn't want to have to like run a business where I had a lot of employees and it was kind of a high stress business. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to pivot. I had read and learned and watched a lot about art licensing. And so I was like, "You know what? I think I can do this." I bought an iPad and I started watching videos on Skillshare, mostly Cat, to be honest. Watch, like, all of Cat's videos on Skillshare and some others as well. Liz Kohler Brown is the other one who I really watched all of her videos. And I just started making art, and I just started sharing it. So, now let's, like, hop up to 2023. So, I've made some art, maybe like 20 or 25 pieces. And I had an Instagram account where I would just share my art, not like all the time, maybe like once a week or so, because I wasn't making that much art and I was still very anxious about that. But, I just started putting it out there because I wanted to do like, for myself, I was like, "You know what? If I commit to putting my art out there, it's gonna motivate me to keep making more and keep getting better." And I literally would think in my head, like, "You know what? I love that I'm putting all this art out there because in, like, 3 years, I wanna be able to, like, scroll back to the beginning of my Instagram and be like, 'Wow, look how far I came.'" That was literally motivation for me. So I was like, "I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna put it out there." So in, like, February of 2023, I was like, "You know what? The time is never gonna be perfect. I'm just gonna start pitching my art." Actually, right before I even started pitching my art, I had, um I had someone from TJX reach out to me, and they had found me on Instagram. I only had, like, 3 or 400 followers, like, I did not have a big following, but they saw this one pattern they loved, and that gave me so much confidence. I was like, "Oh my god, like, someone's interested in my art." And so I was like, I'm just gonna start pitching. And I had been like kind of slowly just keeping a list of like all the potential places and people that I thought I could pitch to. Just a very like I had a Google Doc, just like putting in names of like, you walk into the store and you see a brand or a product. I'm like, that looks like, So I had this list of like when I start pitching, like here's where I'm gonna go. Cause I already had and that really helped because I felt like um when I, when I when I wanted to start pitching, I felt like I knew exactly what to do, and so, I set up a tracking document because I was like, when I pitched my art, all of the classes and courses I had kind of consumed by then talked about how important it was to kind of keep track of what you do. So I was like, okay, I'm going to track everything. I set up a very simple Google tracking doc and I would just put in the name of the company. And then when I found a contact person, the name of that contact person, when I would reach out to them, and then like any notes, like, did they follow up? I also set up email tracking. So I would write like, did the email get opened? Did they open it multiple times? Did the email get sent back? Like maybe I have the wrong email address. So I just made sure I kept really good notes. And then I was like, okay, I'm setting a goal for myself. And the goal for myself is to send 100 pitches in the first year because I felt like if I did that, I would just be pushing myself to put myself out there so much that um I was like, one out of 100 is gonna say yes. Like I'm gonna get a yes somewhere. But the other thing that was really key in that was that when you're constantly focusing on like, what's the next thing I'm doing? What's like, when you're always focusing and looking ahead, it's a lot easier to not dwell on like, I haven't heard back from this pitch and that pitch. And so this is something I call like having many irons in the fire. And so instead of like pitching and then waiting to hear back because you don't know, and it's like, it can be hard and frustrating. I was like, no, I'm just going to pitch, 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 pitch. And when I do hear back, that's great. And if it's feedback and if it's like learnings I can take from it, I will incorporate that. But I'm just going to keep moving forward and not be waiting to hear back from every pitch I send. So that's what I did. I literally just, I would usually kind of like bulk my pitches up. So like I would send maybe like every week or two, I would kind of have one day where I would be like, okay, I'm going to send out like 10 or something pitches to this today. And I had an email template that I created for my pitches, and I literally had it saved in my Google template so I could just like click and it would like populate into my new email that I was drafting, and I would customize it however appropriately for the specific person or company and the products. And but I kept it pretty brief and short, and I was just like, this is me, this is my art. And I also was very like I said anything in the pitch email that I thought might help sell me, as in, like, I'm super flexible. I work quickly. I'm open to what you need. Like, if you need something based on like, if you need new art to be made, I can do that. If you see something you like and you want a collection built around that, I can do that. I try to make myself sound like an easy person to work with because, when someone is considering working with an artist, there's lots of things that go into it. It's not just like, what is their art like, but like, is it going to be easy to work with this person? Is this person going to meet deadlines? Is this person going to be able to create things when we need them? Like anything I thought that might help sell me, put that right in that email. Um, and I think a lot of this is stuff I learned from my previous business. I had to pitch myself a lot, not specifically to clients, but like to other businesses I worked with and like for promotions and media and all of that stuff. And so I had just built up this tolerance to, I guess, rejection. And I think that that was huge for me because I wasn't scared of hearing no back. Um, so I just was like, I just did it. I didn't have this fear of like someone saying no because I knew that someone was going to say no. That's very helpful. If you can go into it thinking, you know what? I know that a lot of these responses I'm going to get are no's, and that's fine. And that is how it is for not just new artists, but like all artists. Like the most successful artists, some collaborations are going to be a yes and some clients are going to be a no. So yeah, I think that was kind of my mentality going into the pitches. Um, and in terms of the companies that I chose to pitch to, I really just focused on companies that I honestly truly felt like my art would be a good fit for. I did not pitch to a company if the art didn't seem like a good fit because to me that just felt like that would be a waste of time. But I also didn't discern like, oh, that company is like too good for me to pitch to, or that company is too small. So my filter was just, would my art work with them? And I didn't kind of psych myself out about like, oh, that company is like way too big, or the artist currently working with them are so much more successful than me. I just like took that out of my mind and was like, nope, let's just look at this like very logically. Like, would my art look good on their products? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. I'm going to add them to my list of people I want to pitch to. So that was like my pitching strategy. And I pitched over 100. I think the first year I did over 125 pitches. And eventually like kind of really only slowed down because I so I started pitching to people in February of 2023. I had just found out I was having twins in October. So I was like also freaking out. I already had 2 little kids. So I was about to have 4 little kids. So right when I started pitching, right when I launched my art licensing career, I immediately decided I need an agent because I'm not going to be able to handle like doing all of this outreach all the time and also be creating art and also being mom. So I was kind of simultaneously pitching to agents as well while I was pitching to potential clients. That was also really helpful because when I did end up getting an agent, I think part of the reason that they wanted to work with me is because I already had existing clients, and that was very appealing to them because they knew that I already had marketability, and a lot of the clients I already had were jewel clients, so that worked really well. And just so you know too, like my agent did not say yes on the first time or the second time. I had to keep following up. And I was like, "Guys, I really think this is the right you guys are right for me." And I just kept like I didn't give up. And I think that's a big part of my story too is like you get a no, that does not mean it's a forever no. It's like a no right now. If you really believe in it, rework, rethink, try again. Like and truly like Jewel said no twice and then they were like, "Okay." So, um okay. So I want to share a little bit about my art creation strategies in the first year as well. So, right when I got started, I always knew I really, really wanted to be like different. Not like insanely different, but just like unique. Like I didn't want to just do what everyone else did. And I knew that that would be a really big reason of why companies would ultimately want to work with me in the future. And I had learned that from my Miss Design Berry wedding business because I created a product that basically didn't exist prior. And so when I was unique and different, all of a sudden, I was kind of in like a category on my own, and it makes it a lot easier to sell yourself. So, I love dogs and I incorporated dogs in a lot of my work. I had started developing a signature style. It wasn't really fully like it is now, but I had the beginnings and I knew I wanted to keep working towards that. And I really wanted my colors to stand out and be different. So I was like, you know what? I want to use color, like unique color combinations. I want to continue to hone my own signature style. and I wanna draw things that I wanna draw and incorporate trends, but do them in my own way. So, like, a lot of trends, I'll see the trend and then make it my own, usually by, like, making it dogs, but I do other things too, but, like, for instance, like, right now, like, La Dolce Vita, like, Italian beach is, like, very trendy. I just did a collection, but it's dogs. Like, I try and always make it my own and a little bit different that's not gonna be the exact same as someone else's, and I think that that's a really, really good strategy if you can figure out how to do that, especially in a way that is fun for you and lights you up. And then the other part of my art creation strategy was to always keep making new art, even when it felt like I did not want to, because I'm sure you guys have all felt this, but like you're gonna hit points where you're making crappy art, and the last thing you wanna do is make more art. And so I made myself promise to myself, like, when I make bad art, the immediate response is make another piece of art. And that's the only way I could figure out how to just like keep the momentum going. Also, bad art still makes money. I still put all my bad art in my portfolio and clients license it, so whatever. Just because I think it's bad does not mean everyone else is gonna think it's bad. So that was my art strategy, pretty straightforward. Um, and then in terms of my overall, like, priorities that first year, um, I mentioned to you guys that I really wanted to find an agent, so I prioritized that. I mentioned already about sharing my art consistently on Instagram, and I gotta tell you, so many clients I got my first year were not because of my pitches, but because they found me on Instagram and Pinterest, but more so on Instagram in the beginning because I was more focused on Instagram. I have no crazy Instagram strategy. I don't even really plan my content, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I just share my work consistently, and back then, hashtags were, like, way more relevant, so I would use hashtags. I feel like hashtags aren't really because they're becoming way less relevant, but that is how a lot of my clients, like I mentioned, like TJX found me. Um Okay, and then so my strategies, make as much art as I could, send as many pitches as I could, and then I was constantly on the search for new clients to pitch to. So anytime I would see a product, I mean, like my house was the perfect example, but like I have 4 kids. It's full of like cute kids stuff and like puzzles and clothes and books and like every single product where it'd be like cute stuff, I'd be like, "Okay, who made this?" Like write it down, write it down. Ongoing list, just like notes app in my phone, just so that you always have like more ideas of like the next time I'm going to send out pitches, I got some new ideas. And that really helped me keep momentum. Uh, and then the very last thing I will say to you guys is when I started out, I knew that it would be really hard and there would be a lot of rejection that I would have to just like take and move on. And so I literally told myself the only thing that I had to commit to 100% was to not give up. I didn't have to commit to anything else. I didn't make myself commit to posting art a specific amount of times or making a certain amount of art or anything other than just I will not give up. So every day that just meant I have to do something that is like perpetual forward motion. That something could be trend research by going to Target and looking at products. Sometimes that's all you can do. Or it could be making beautiful new art. But every day was just like, I have to do something to feel like I'm moving forward. And then that just like continues to build. And it's like all these little steps that just keep you going forward.
Wow, Chrissy, holy cow. I just took a million notes. Even though this is being recorded, I took a million notes. This is incredibly inspiring, and you just you kind of shared this process, so much of it just came to you intuitively, but this overarching theme that you just supported over and over again was you made this entire journey work for you. Like you did
Yes.
this despite challenges along the way, even time commitments, having kids, and every step of the way was, how are you gonna make this work for you? And I think another recurring theme was just the momentum. Once you get that forward momentum going, it's a lot easier to carry on than it is to stop and then start fresh again. So that was incredible. Okay, so I got all of my notes I'm taking. I'm like, okay, you had your dream list, you set up your own pitch tracker. I guess my first question is, how did you know what steps to take? Like these are all things that we, you know, that I teach in the program, but
Yep.
you did all of this without having assistance. I mean, I know I sent you those like long rambling voice notes on Instagram sometimes, but
Like, what do I do? Yeah.
but really I think a lot of it was intuitive for you. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I mean, a lot of it for me was like, I know this is gonna be a lot of work, and so anything I can do that's gonna help me, like, s stay on top of it and, like, cut out, like, extra stuff. So, like, basically, what can I do to organize all of this work I'm gonna be doing? And I had, you know, anything I had read, blog posts and stuff, like, a lot of art licensing I had learned was just, like, there's a lot of, like, organization to it to really stay on top of it, and so I was like, "Okay, I need to be tracking, like also tracking my pitches because I knew I would need to follow up because a lot of times you don't hear back. So, like, I was like, I know that I have to track that, and then I had read about mail tracking. I was like, "Okay, having a mail tracker is so helpful because now it's gonna give me more feedback." Like, any information I can get, you know, I'll take it because that all helps inform, like, the future decisions and what I do.
That's really interesting. In terms of the follow-up, what do you think like, what percentage of the licensing deals do you think you got because of the follow-up?
Um, Definitely a decent amount. Like, I would say it's pretty rare to, like, send one email and get an email back being like, "Yes." I mean, it happens occasionally, but, you know, a lot of times what I would do is, like, I would send an email and I wouldn't hear back from those people, but I would always look through my email tracking, and if I could see that they were opening my emails, but they hadn't responded, I'd be like, "Okay, you know what? They haven't responded, but I know they're interested. Perfect time to follow up." And a lot of times, those would be end up being yeses because they were interested and just, like, giving them that little push, following up, "Hey, I have some new art," or, "I just wanted to" you know, whatever kind of follow-up you wanna do. But I would try and always use that information since, like, "Oh, yeah, like, they opened this email again, and it's I sent that pitch, like, a month ago, so maybe they're looking now for artists again, and they're going back through their pitch emails," or whatever, and just try and use that information to position myself in, like, the most opportunistic way.
Yeah, that's smart. I mean, and I really like what you said too about in the pitch content, like in what you said in the first place on those pitches, your overarching goal was be friendly, be professional, and be easy to work with, and be like open to whatever they need. And I think that's such a smart approach. Technical wise, what did you use to track the email opens?
Okay, hang on, the name just changed, so let me check.
No worries. I know we've been talking about that a little bit in the community as well.
It is called so now it's called Mail Suite.
Mhm.
I think it's like $10 a month. I just get, like, the basic one, not, like, the pro one.
That's
Tells you
great.
when someone's opens, you can track link clicks as well. Super helpful.
That's amazing. Okay, so in terms of who you pitch to, you mentioned that you would find products around the house. You'd see who the manufacturer was. That was a direct pitch. Any other tips for how you found people to pitch to?
Um, you know, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, still do. Um, but you know what's interesting? A lot of times it'd be like, I would find a product at like TJ Maxx, and then it'd be a company I hadn't really heard of, and I'd go look it up, and I'd look it up on LinkedIn, and then on LinkedIn, it would like pop up on the sidebar, and there'd be like other similar companies, and sometimes they'd be like, "Oh wait, like look at this company, like I've never seen this before, but seems like they sell the same kind of stuff or manufacture the same stuff." So just like that, and then honestly, Instagram. So, like, by following other artists, especially other artists who create art that's kinda similar to you, you can see, "Oh, these are companies they're working with. Maybe they would wanna work with me too."
Yeah,
That's another big way.
I did it. I stalked the brand books on Jewel, and I would see who their retailers and partners and manufacturers
Mhm,
were. I'm like, I want to
mhm.
pitch to those people.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
That's smart. Okay, so speaking of agents, so you mentioned that you pitched to a lot of different agents and it took multiple times with Jewel and then you ended up signing on with them. What was your thought process in choosing what agents you wanted to reach out to? And then why did you ultimately land on Jewel over the other ones?
So, um, the agents, I really just looked at who are they representing and did what do those agents or what do those artists' careers look like? Is that it what my career I want my career to look like? But also, like, does it look like my art would fit in there? And it's this weird balance of, like, you want your art to fit in, but you also want your art to be different because they don't wanna have, like, artists who make something that looks the exact same, and actually, my first when I first reached out to Jewel, that was kind of what they said to me is, like, "We feel like this is not like, we kind of already have art like this," which was a huge motivator for me to, like, continue to make my style unique. Um And then when I started actually talking to some agents, I knew that my schedule needed to be really flexible. I didn't want to sign on with an agency that was gonna like give me these like, minimums of you have to make this amount of art every year. Some agents I talked to, like some of the clients, like their bigger clients were not projects that I was interested in working on. So for me, Jewel was just like I saw incredible brands, I saw incredible artists. And it was just like I just knew like right away, like 100% that was my top choice. And so that's why I was so like committed to like doing whatever I needed to do to get it.
It's funny because you didn't and it was actually one of the reasons I picked them too is because one of my first questions was, "Do you have a quota, like a minimum quota I have to reach?" And they said no, and I'm like, "Phew." And it's funny because I have no problem being prolific and creating art, and you certainly have no problem being prolific, but it's a freedom thing, and I think
Right.
that's
I didn't want someone telling me what I had to do, basically. Yeah.
I yeah, I relate, I relate. Okay, well, let's get into, yeah, some of the questions that we, received, when I announced you as a speaker in the community, and there are so many. You've generated a lot of interest with us, so I'm gonna dive right into it. So one of the questions Alexandra asked was, "What strategies did you use to stand out in the competitive market?" So you mentioned you really wanted to find your own style. We're getting a lot of questions about style too, so maybe two
Yep.
birds with one stone with this
Yep.
one.
Yeah, I really knew like right off the bat that I really wanted to develop a signature style. And I really struggled because I had spent the last 10 years doing a very different style of illustration in Adobe Illustrator, which was like vector based. And it was like very like, it wasn't that artistic in a way. And so I was like, I need to figure out what my style is. And so I really tried to just lean into like what like if I was just gonna pick up a pen and a piece of paper and like draw a dog, like what is my natural inclination? Like, is it to be super detailed and do shading, or is it to do like a quick little doodly sketch? And for me, it's like more of a quick little doodly sketch. And so I was like, I'm just gonna lean into like what my natural inclination is, and then kinda try and build around that, which I feel like has been really helpful because I'm not trying to, like, force myself into something that doesn't fit for me, and then once I kind of figured out, like, "Okay, I wanna use, like, this kinda line work and these kinda colors," that's when I tried then to be like, "Okay, how can I, like, do really cool trends but make it my own?" Because I know that trends are really important in art licensing, but, if you see the same sardines 100 times, like, what makes one different? Well, I wanna do, like, really cute puns on mine and make mine, like, funny and cute and have another layer. And something I didn't mention earlier, but, like, because I worked in advertising and concepting for, like, ads, it was such a big part of my job. I feel like I really brought that over into my, um, art licensing career. So I always like to have, like, really conceptual ideas and, like, add in layers of not just pretty art, but, like, is there something funny or cute or something included?
Yeah, something more memorable about it. What about the color palette? Because when I'm scrolling Instagram, you're one of those artists that I see the image and I'm like, "Oh, that's Chrissy," before I even see your name. And a lot of that, I mean, it's your style, it's very iconic, it's very distinct, but you also repeat the same color palette in a lot of your work. What's the strategy there, and how did you decide those colors?
Yeah. So I kind of realized this as I started working, but like I have kind of like a core group of colors. Maybe it's like 12 or 12 to 20 colors. And I
Mhm.
don't use all of those colors on every illustration, but I use some of them, which one makes my art recognizable, but two, it's really cool because now all of a sudden, like any pieces of my art can kind of go together because they have overlapping colors. So it's great because I don't always create in collections, but when a client is looking through my portfolio and they see like this piece and that piece and they're like, "Oh, these could just go together." Like because because of that style, but also because there's always color overlap. And then I honestly just like chose colors that I really loved that stood out to me and then tried to like add in other colors that would complement and work with those.
That's a great strategy because essentially, you mentioned sometimes you work in collections, sometimes you don't, but because you have such a strong style, a similar medium for everything, same color palette, you can do that mix and matching, which
Mhm.
that's great. I love that. Okay, so another question from Alexandra was, if you had to start your art licensing journey from scratch today, would you do anything differently?
No.
Awesome.
I don't think I mean, like, I can't think of anything I would do differently. It's funny, I have learned a lot of information that I feel like would have been great to have back then, like, specifically just about, like, when, like, you're researching clients, like, there's all these different layers of, like, companies and, like, manufacturing and like white label and private label. And it's like there's a lot to kind of understand, but there's it's also I feel like a lot of the things I've learned, I really had to kind of figure out by just like doing it. And so like so I think no, I really wouldn't change anything.
That's what a great answer. Everyone listen to Chrissy's advice. This is great. Okay, so you're incredibly confident and you seem like you've got a really strong mindset. So one of the questions we got coming in was from Shirin, and she wants to know, how do you stay so prolific and creatively energized while also having this confidence to commit to a project, trust your vision, see it through without getting derailed? Like, how is this just coming intuitively to you, or do you have any advice there?
It's changed a lot over the last couple years, and when I first got started, I took on any projects I could, and that's very normal, and I feel like that was the right choice then because I wanted to have the experience, I wanted to have the examples, I wanted to have clients to say, "These are people I've worked with." And as I've continued to grow my business, I think the pool of clients and, projects I take on has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk, and I'm pretty selective now, because I always reserve that time, like, I wanna be able to make the art that I wanna make that's not for anyone but for me, and obviously, I hope that it's gonna get licensed, but it's really important for me to preserve, like, that part of my creation time, and I don't have that much creation time. Honestly, I work, like, 20 hours a week. So I have become pretty selective, and the clients that I say yes to are the ones who I'm excited about and I wanna work with. My agent always brings great options and opportunities, but, like, I never have to do anything, so, yeah, I think as you grow as an artist, you naturally just kind of become more selective about that, and also, like, I charge a lot more than I did back then, and so it's just a natural selection process of, like, okay, well, certain clients are just not gonna work, but that's okay. I've learned to be okay with that.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. I said yes to absolutely everything at the beginning, and now I can be pickier because
Yeah,
that's just,
yeah.
yeah, the way that it's shaped up. Okay, so Catherine wants to know, let's go into art medium stuff. You mentioned kind of the vector you were exploring, but her question is, does she do all of her artwork in Procreate, or does Chrissy do a Procreate Photoshop thing? Do you do any vector work now?
I don't do any vector work, so I do all of my illustrations in Procreate. When I lay out patterns, I lay out my patterns in Affinity. I use the method that Liz Kohler Brown does, which is like a really, really good method. So you guys, if you're, you should check that out because she has this method that I use it constantly. Um, I don't use Photoshop, but I do export all of my files as Photoshop files. So when I'm providing layered files to my clients, I'm giving them Photoshop files.
Do you ever send Affinity files to clients? No,
No, I
just
mean, no one's ever really asked for it, and there's really no point because it's not like I'm doing vector, like, I'm basically creating my art in Procreate, exporting PNGs that I'm then using to lay out my patterns, and then exporting from Affinity. Honestly, a lot of times I export from Affinity back to Procreate to add in, like I kind of, like, take the basic pattern, and then I kind of fill in and add in, like, all the little details in Procreate, and then export as a PSD.
smart. That's a great process. We'll link to, I know the class you're talking about with, Liz. We'll link to that in the
Mhm.
replay as well
Yeah.
for everybody. Okay, so Anne, you've talked a lot about trends. So Anne wanted to know, I'd love to know, how does Chrissy do her trend research, and do you have any advice for us about that?
Mm. So, at this point, a lot of my trends come directly from my agent because they are kinda telling me what clients are looking for. But in the beginning, I didn't have anyone telling me trends. Um, I would go like, so I watched Kat's trends class that she had on Skillshare, and it's really amazing. You guys mostly have probably seen it, but she just talked about a lot about, like, looking in stores and, like, anywhere that, you're seeing trends. Like, I would go on Anthropology and be like, "What colors are they using, and what motifs am I seeing?" I would see what other artists were doing, but also just a lot of just, like, walking around and, like, seeing what's in store, like, just because in some ways, it's like if something's in store, then that trend is already happening, but also when I find that in the art licensing world, trends usually last for a couple years. It's not like something's popular now and it's not gonna be popular next year. Usually it evolves over a couple years and then maybe starts to kind of fade out. So I just was constantly trying to see what's popping out to me and what, in the more kind of like trendy stores, what was I seeing a lot?
Yeah, so it's just being observant, looking for
Yeah.
patterns. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's my approach as well.
yeah.
Okay, Heidi wants to know, for those of us who are more tortoise than hare, and you are definitely hare, Chrissy, do you have any tips for getting finished faster or streamlining the process?
I don't think that you should try and push yourself to work faster if that's not your natural inclination, but you should think about ways to get more out of all of the art that you do create. So, if you love to make patterns, like something I have learned is like, okay, how can I like create one pattern, but then kind of get like way more use out of it? So a lot of times I will illustrate my motifs so that they can stand alone and then also be put into a pattern. And then also I'll think about it and be like, okay, this is a cute dog's pattern, and there's no reason I can't make this dog's pattern, also like a Christmas version and also like a 4th of July version by doing some color swaps and maybe some little accessory swaps. So just like I think, whatever your art process is and however long it takes you, that's okay because that's what's working for you. But think about how you can be more like creative and getting more out of the stuff that you are creating.
That's smart. So you'll have the dog and then you'll swip out like maybe a Santa hat for the fall or for the summer or winter
Yep.
collection, like,
Yep.
on a surfboard
Yep.
for summer. That's smart. So you'll use the same base dog illustration and then kind of swap it around.
Yes.
That's a great approach. That's a lot of repurposing. That's yeah, that's a great way to do it. That's a really good way to kind of amp up your portfolio with work without having to
And
spend a ton more
and
time.
I honestly came across that because a lot of times clients would see something and be like, "Can you make a Christmas version of this?" And like I kind of realized, "Oh, like that's smart." Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, okay, so along those lines then, Bagyashri wanted to know how many designs or collections did you have when you first started pitching?
Great question. I actually read that question and then I went back and looked at my website looked like when I first started pitching. It looks the exact same as now, literally the exact same. So I had just like a really simple website and it had like 20 just pieces of art examples. And then I had more than that obviously. But probably I maybe had I it's hard to say because like I could say 100 pieces of art, but like a lot of that is kind of like maybe derivatives of the similar art. I had maybe probably about 3 solid pattern collections that I felt confident in that I would pitch with, and then some additional more standalone, like, illustrations. It was not a huge body of work. Like, now I have, like, well over 1,000 pieces in my portfolio, but I really realized, like, it was the same couple pieces that, like, most people I pitched to who would reply were being drawn to, and so I do think, like, there's a big quantity over quality, especially when you're first getting started, because all you need is one person to see something that they love, and especially if you're telling them in those pitch emails, "If you see something you love, I'm happy to build a collection around it, I'm flexible," like, like, it kind of gets the wheels turning, like, "Oh, this is an awesome piece of art, and if there was 2 more of these, we could use that in a collection." So really just, like, I always only shared my very best art, like, I was very selective.
That's a great distinction, and I'm glad you pointed it out because what I have in my licensing portfolio, and Chrissy, it sounds like based off what you said, it's the same. In the licensing portfolio that clients can access, I throw everything in there, even stuff that I'm like, it's all right." I toss it in there, it gets licensed. But for my like, what I present my brand as, like, what's on my website, my brand book, all of those things, it's the best of the best. But I don't hold anything back when it comes to my own portfolio, and it sounds
No,
like you're really similar.
no,
Yeah. Get it
always
in
gets
there.
licensed, yeah.
Yeah, throw it in there. Smart. One thing that Alexander asked in the chat was when you're doing this repurposing motifs approach, like throwing the Santa hat on the dog, do you have any licensing conflicts when you use the same motif base?
That's a great question, like, and I've actually I ask my agent questions a lot because it's like, if something's in a different colorway, like, where does that fall? But I try to make sure that, like, if it is, like, the same dog motif, but it has, different accessories and it's arranged in a different way, then I feel like that is unique enough. Areas where it might be a little trickier is, like, if I made a pattern using 4 dog motifs and then those 4 dog motifs were also individual, spot illustrations, you do need to be careful that, like, you're not licensing those against each other if there's conflicts and stuff like that. Again, these are all things that, like, I do not have the time to manage and why I was so, like, set on getting an agent because these are the kind of things I need help with. But yeah, you absolutely have to be careful, and I've had mix-ups, not really my fault, but, like, clients, and it was scary, and so, like, I'm always super careful about that stuff.
Yeah. I remember asking Jewel, I was like, "Can I just change the color palette and it's different?" And they're like, "No, it must be distinctly different." Because I do the same thing. I'll use base elements, but then I'll put them into different compositions.
Yep.
And same advice from Jewel, as long as each one feels distinctly different and like a
Yeah.
different illustration,
Yeah.
it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you pointed that one out. Sai wanted to know, are you creating in collections and what's your process for that? Or do you create your artwork and figure out how to group it after that?
Totally both.
Nice. How do you
Occasionally, I
decide?
have this idea of like, "Oh my god, this would be the coolest collection," and then I'm like, "Okay, let's plan out." That's the more rare occurrence for me. More commonly is like, I create something and it takes off. It's really popular on Instagram, or my clients love it in my portfolio, or my agents think it's great. And then I'm like, "Okay, so this has, like, selling power, let's create a collection around it," and that's probably what's more my normal sort of process.
Nice. And you also mentioned because your style is so strong and you use the same color palettes, you've got some great mix and matching opportunities as well.
And I have to tell you guys, like, my clients do that all the time. They will, like, pick 4 seeming to me, seemingly random prints, and they're like, "It's a" okay, great example, actually. If I just had a collection launch with Berkshire
I saw that.
blankets, but, like, I did not that is not a collection, like, that I created as a collection. Those are all completely separate pieces that they pulled together, did some color tweaks, and then put it into a collection, and I think that's a great example of, like, what I've been
It
talking about.
and it feels it's one of your latest Instagram posts if you guys wanna check it out,
Yeah,
and it feels really cohesive. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, it's a great collection." But
yeah,
it was like, the clients put the collection together, that's fine. You can
yeah.
have a bit of both." And this is part of being, professional, being easy to work with too, and just being super flexible with your art.
And also, it's a really good example of, like, so there's a dog pickleball, like, collection within this collection, and it's a great example of, like, I made a pattern with motifs, but each motif can stand on its own. So one of the motifs is like its own pillow, and then there's, like, a pattern that goes with it, and then a different motif is like a dog toy. That's a really good example too of, like, reuse like, making your art to be as, like, flexible as possible.
Yeah, pulling spot illustrations out of your pattern to highlight. I love it. I love it. Shiloh wanted to know, do you have any other income streams besides art licensing? And what are they, if so? And what percentage of your income is art licensing versus others?
So right now, no. But I am launching a class at the in September, but that's not I'm really excited. It's a lot of work. But that is not something that I'm currently so all of my income right now is art licensing. But I'll tell you guys, as this year in particular, I've had a significant amount of income come from settlements of stolen and infringement art.
How do you approach
So
that?
what?
How do you approach that?
So it's funny. I actually have, like, 2 different legal teams now, one through Jewel and one that I actually found on my own, but, I basically have had followers on Instagram who were sending me stuff saying like, "Hey, is this your art? Because this looks just like your art." And once a couple of them were kind of bigger companies, my husband's actually an attorney, not that kind of attorney, but he was like, "You need to stop complaining. I'm sick of hearing you complain and, like, take action." I was like, "Okay." So we found someone I reached out to who worked on contingency with me, which means basically they only get paid if I get paid. And I've had 2 successful settlements this year where I got a significant amount of money, like way more than if I would have licensed that art to them. So that's been kind of a new, I mean, it's weird to say, but a new income stream this year for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I've done the same thing. Um, always not always go after, but always review your options. And some companies are going to be a lot
Mhm,
easier to go after and get a settlement from
mhm.
than others. And I'm so glad that you didn't shy away from that because I know sometimes it's like, oh, legal fees, I'm not sure, but there are attorneys out there. My attorneys that I work with for settlements, it's the same thing where I don't pay them anything up front. And if
Yep,
they don't secure a settlement, I pay nothing. If they
yep,
secure a settlement, then they get a percentage of it.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, we are down to the wire, so I think maybe we have time for 1 or 2. You've been great for rapid speed questions, by the way.
I
This
I do talk fast. Yeah.
this is fantastic. We've gone through almost everything. Okay, Carolyn wants to know, when you were working on sending your first 100 pitches, did you have your website up, and were you using that as your portfolio, or did you give them a Dropbox link, to all of your imagery?
Great question. So my portfolio was exactly as it is now. It had just different couple pieces of art, but it was like basically the same. And I did have so even before I signed with Jewel, I had started using their platform Art Autonomo or Autonomo. And so that is a place where I keep all my like my full complete portfolio, and so I would send that as, like, if someone was interested, like, they liked what they saw and asked if I had more. But I also would create PDFs, like, so if I was pitching to a specific company with specific products, I would create little PDFs of maybe, like, here's a full pattern collection that's not on my, little sample portfolio website, but so they could see additional art that would be, relevant to that company.
Smart, smart. I like that approach. In that initial pitch, did you include attachments or links?
Sometimes,
Okay.
depending, yeah.
Did
Like,
you
if I
see
did it
that
with, like, a fabric company or something, yes, because I'd be like, "Here, look at all these pages of, like, collections." Yeah.
did you notice between either sending a link or sending an attachment, did one convert better than the other?
Um, that's a great question. I just think it really depends on the type of client because, like, some clients are, like, much more curated and looking for specific things, and so, like, for fabric companies, I didn't, like, send them to my full I'd be like, "Here are my collections," because that's what they're looking for, but, like, for a bigger manufacturing company who it's like they could be looking for all kinds of art, it's smarter to send them to your complete portfolio because they might find just all kinds of stuff that you might not even think that they'd be looking for. So I think it's a really case by case basis.
Yeah, that was wonderful. Oh my gosh. Okay, we are at time. I'm going to be considerate of your time as well. You just gave us 46 minutes of incredibly packed in information. I'm just I it's this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming and just being so transparent and open and friendly and just yeah, this is great. We're all, rising together and
Yeah,
building this collective knowledge. It's
yeah.
wonderful. Thank you.
Of course, thanks for having me, Kat.
Oh, and before you leave, where can people find you and follow you?
ChrissyMast.com. My Instagram is Chrissy_Mast_art. Those are
Awesome.
my 2 main places, and then I have a Facebook group too for artists, but it's linked on my website, so you can find it there.
You guys should join her Facebook group. I'm in it. It's super helpful. Chrissy is an open book. She shares a lot of information there as well, and
There's a
it's
lot of really successful artists in that group who share also, which I think is really cool, so, yeah.
it's great. Thank you so much, Chrissy. We really appreciate it.
Of course. Bye.
Have a good rest of your day.
You
Adios.
too.
Awesome. Okay. Wow. That was incredibly inspiring. I am just like brimming with ideas, and I have a bunch of notes I've jotted down that I can't wait to compile into the replay. So, we're about halfway through our call. What I'm going to do is do a screen share. So, first update, we have new members joining the collective next week. Very exciting. So let's give everybody a warm welcome when they come in. They will be introducing themselves in the say hello space. And I can't wait to meet this new batch of artists and again just start pooling this collective knowledge together and seeing where we go and grow from here. And some more fun updates are going to be we are using ad events. Basically, what this is we're putting all of our future calls, all the heads up about replays, monthly drops, donut buddies, everything into this ad event calendar. And why we're starting to use this is you only have to subscribe once, and it's automatically going to add to your own digital calendars, whether it's Gmail, YouTube, Yahoo, anything like that. So Amy recorded a wonderful Loom video. We're going to be posting the link to that by tomorrow. So it'll be great. You click once onto Add Event, and then you'll have all of the things on the calendar reminding. So that way, yeah, just less likely to miss anything. And I have a Zoom call next week. So this is not a CatCoq collective Zoom call. This is something that I'm opening up to my entire audience. So if you're on my email newsletter, I've been running this mini collection challenge for the last month where it's month or week by week. I've been giving prompts for building up your mini collection. And I'm doing a big celebration call on July 22nd, which is also when the doors open for Art of Collections again. So I'm going to be going through really similar to this actually, where I show a lot of the submissions that came in, talk about what's working well, and I'm also going to be giving some collection tips, what makes collections licensable, how to improve your portfolio, where do I even start, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, you guys are welcome to join. And again, this is a call that's open to my entire audience, and we have it on Ad Event as well, and we'll be posting the link into the community. So you are welcome to come and join, and we'd love to see you there. And here is our big announcement. So, we've been listening to you guys, and one of the big things that we've been hearing a lot of is what do I do this week? Or some people, maybe I took a month off and I'm coming back in. Where do I pick up where I left off? And I'm really glad that we actually had Chrissy before this talking about this momentum and trying to do one small thing every day and just keep that momentum going. That's what this is designed for. So we condensed it into a 6-month roadmap, but it's really for any stage of your journey where you're at. So, what I would encourage you to do, we'll be sending the link to this by tomorrow as well. You can go in, check it out. We've actually designed it in Notion, but you can view it as a web page as well. And Amy and I have been working behind the scenes on this for months now, since I was in New Zealand. So, what, 3 months ago? And we were really excited to share it. So, what you can do is once you get into this roadmap, you can click month by month. It'll open up pages and it'll show you what your weekly goals should be for each month, checklists, all of that kind of thing. So, the way that well, I don't want to tell you how to use it because I'm kind of curious to hear how everyone's going to use it, and I don't want to influence it too much. But I would say right off the bat, I think it's going to be really helpful whether you've been in the program since January or since last September. What you can do is go check out these previous months and see if there's anything that we've recommended that you haven't yet checked off your list. And so this can kind of be a good way of going back, seeing, is there anything else that I should be working on or anything I forgot about that you can check off and then move on to the next step. So this is just, we're trying to figure out how to help you guys stay more organized, stay on track, get that momentum going. And I think this might be a really good tool. So we're just now launching it, and so I've got a survey form for you as well. If you start using this roadmap and you want to share your thoughts, we would love to hear it because we want to know how to keep improving it. The reason we are designing this in Notion is because we want to be making real-time updates based off of the feedback we're getting from you to make this as basically as helpful as possible for you for what do I work on today? What do I work on this week? What do I work on this month, etc. So we'll be posting the link to this tomorrow. And another announcement, we have CatCoq Collective Voices, and we've had 3 incredible speakers so far. So we've had Sherelle talking about staying organized in Notion, Jessica talking about getting her first licensing deal when her art was used without her permission, and Heidi shared about the Vegas Licensing Expo. So for future calls, we always want to hear from you guys. If you have anything you want to share with your fellow community members, these are really informal. You can do talking head like Heidi did, like Chrissy did today, or you can put together presentations. Totally up to you. We are an easy crowd, so 10 to 15 minutes, you're in a safe space if you want to try presenting for the first time. If you have something to share, we would love to kind of give you a platform for that. So there's a sign up form in Circle. If you just type in the search bar Collective Voices, you'll be able to see the sign up form as well. And cool stuff that's been happening. You guys have been meeting up in person, which is awesome to see. So Chris and Kristen got together in Copenhagen. I love the knit things that you guys are working on. And Sherelle and Olga they met up in person as well. So really, really cool to just see these in-person interactions happening. Yeah, it's like I follow your email newsletters, your websites, Instagram, but then also seeing these real life engagements are amazing. We've got a great community and we've had great conversations within, but it's also nice to have these in real life moments as well. And I know the Donut Buddies have been a big part of that. And then these impromptu Zoom calls that you guys are setting up, meeting with each other, it's really, really cool to see. So I love it. All right, addressing a question that everyone has been wondering, what comes after Art of Collections? Basically, what we're doing is we are putting together an option to continue in the CatCoq Collective on a month-by-month basis. So we're still finalizing pricing and details, but we will 100% have everything confirmed by September. And so this will affect the first group that signed up in 2024. Rather than having your end date in the program be the same day you signed up, we're just going to make it simple. We'll have the whole September crew. You'll have access through October 1st, regardless of when the week before you actually signed up. So stay tuned for more details, but don't worry about not being able to stay in the collective. If you want to stay in, we are making an option for you. So that is coming. And some celebration moments in the collective. Heidi is pitching. I loved this is just the gif made me burst out laughing, but I love the camaraderie, the support. Got a lot of really friendly comments as well. Natasha commented, "It's exciting, it's scary, but she is now pitching as well." So it's really, really cool to just see you guys yeah, get out there and do it. I mean, be inspired by Chrissy as well. She does not care about rejection. She like she's got 4 kids, other things to worry about in life. Getting rejected from a pitch is not one of them, and I think that's a great mentality to channel. Fake it till you make it, because even if you do care, but you just, power through, it will get easier and easier, and it'll get to a point where it's just part of your business step, and it won't have that same emotional connotation attached to it. So, it's great to see you guys getting out there, facing some nervous things, which is pitching, and seeing where it goes from there. And Nat, she had, I really liked this update that she shared, and this part I wanted to highlight in particular. She sent her first pitch after being encouraged by Patty and Sandra on the Zoom call that they got on together, and that warmed my heart. I was just so happy to see that, seeing that, Nat got inspired to pitch, and she wrote that she'd been putting it off, thinking she's not ready, needs more stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But then she pushed herself to send that email, and she got a response back. They think her style works nicely with what they're doing, and they went through details about how they license, and they're going to be in touch. So that is a wonderful response to get to hear back. So huge congrats on Nat for getting a response from sending that first pitch. That's amazing. And Kirsten also sent her first pitch. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share this is uh, I'm the type of person where I need accountability buddies as well. And Kirsten's was, "My tiny daughter gave me a deadline of today at 7 p.m. And I am pleased to say I've met her demands with time to spare." So use those accountability buddies where you can find them. And I love how Kirsten's was her daughter. So that's amazing. And Kirsten, please keep us updated. And Seta, she started pitching. These aren't even all of the responses, Seta, that you were getting. This encouragement from the community. This is just how many I could fit on the page. So it was really cool to see so much community support. And Seta, I really appreciated here how you actually broke down the stats. So you pitched greeting card companies, and then you expanded to stationery as well. 21 pitches. You talk about where you focus it, and then the results you were getting. And that was great to hear. It was really cool to see that transparency, see that breakdown, and yeah, when we stay organized with the trackers, on that dreamiest dream list pitch tracker. Follow-ups, incredibly important. It's great to just see you guys really just hit the ground running with a lot of these pitches. And Katrina got her first licensing deal. So huge virtual round of applause for Katrina. I loved her post here, and I summarized it over here. This is, by the way, the company that she pitched to and got the licensing deal with, Studio E. I peeked on their website, and this is their retail presence across the United States. So I think that bodes really well for Katrina's licensing deal. I can't wait to see just where it goes from here. So the reason I kind of summarized what she wrote, and I really wanted to highlight that for you guys here because it's really relatable. She wrote in her post, 3 years in, she hadn't really made much money besides a few spoonflower sales. She felt embarrassed about how long it was taking compared to others who seemed to just easily land licensing deals. I think this is really, really relatable. Stuck in perfectionism and waited to pitch until she felt ready, which just ends up, redoing collections endlessly, and was second guessing her work. And so she talked about kind of where she was with mindset. And I think I think probably more than one person here will relate to some of these or all of them. What helped her shift was, joining Art of Collections, using the templates to pitch professionally, pitch follow-up business step. This was the one that pushed her to reach out again, and that's what led to the contract. So it was actually her follow-up email. The first one she sent, she didn't hear anything back, but the follow-up is actually what converted. So Katrina gave advice to others. Don't wait until you feel ready. If you wait till you feel ready, you will never do it. Start pitching, even if it's imperfect, and then follow up, because silence doesn't always mean a no. We just heard Chrissy talk about that as well. Katrina, again, more proof of it. And you're not too late, too old, or too behind to get started now. So Katrina, massive congratulations. I am super proud of you. And also thank you for just sharing so vulnerably and candidly in the community about what kind of, the mindset limitations you had, how you shifted, and then what you recommend for everyone else. I thought that was a really, really encouraging post. And Sandra, she ran a poll in the community asking about which domain name she should go with. You can run polls in Circle. It's kind of a cool feature. So give it a try if you want to. But one thing I wanted to point out here was, and I commented this in the comments, but I want to make sure you guys don't miss it. If I'm waffling between two domains, I'll just buy both of them as long as they're both affordable. And so I own 22 domains, and most of those are redirects, which means here, where is it? CatCoq.com. This is my main website. This is what I have hosted on Squarespace. And a lot of these others are just pointing to CatCoq.com. So if you type in catcocolette.com, it's going to redirect to CatCoq.com. And the reason I did this, it's not just that I'm addicted to buying URLs. It is I want to preserve a space for myself on the internet. So at the very least, I want my name to be protected with the URL, catcocolette.com, obviously my brand name. And then I also got some extensions that I wanted to protect as well, catcoq.net, .info, .co, based off of, and for a lot of these, it's actually my brother and I do Christmas presents for each other where I recommend skincare and he recommends domain names. And so these are based off of what he recommended, the ending of the URLs that I should be going with. So yeah, so I have these. Most of them are redirecting to my website. And if you have any questions about how to set up redirects, I will tell you that I have tried doing it myself. I've gotten into my DNS records, and every time I try to do it myself, I break my website. So if you feel confident in doing that, go for it. But I found a woman through a blog post she wrote a few years ago. Her name is Analia Amarillo, and I just messaged her on Telegram and I let her know which domains I need to transfer over. We hop on a quick Zoom call. I give her permissions and I pay her $75 an hour. So if anybody wants her contact info, I'll post it in Circle as well. But I use her for all of my domain stuff. So that's been for something like DNS records. I'm not confident enough to get into my own because I don't want to mess up my website, but I'll outsource it to someone I trust. So that would be my recommendation as well. And Catherine posted about business names. So this is not unique. We've been having a lot of conversations over the months about coming up with your brand name. And the way I usually lay it out is you kind of have three options. You have go with your own name for what you want to use for your company, come up with a made up company name, or do a little bit of a combination of both. And so mine is a little bit of a combination of both. CatCoq, it's just the shortened version of my last name. There's no wrong or right answer here. It completely depends on you and your goals. But one thing that I've started doing recently is I've been leading with my name for some of these new licensing collaborations I've been getting because one thing I've been prioritizing in licensing right now, especially this year, is turning down opportunities that aren't aligning with what supports my brand and really only trying to take on opportunities where they will include my name, my logo, my trademark, everything on the packaging or on the product itself, ideally the product itself. And so right now my focus within licensing is finding these opportunities for brands that want to do artist stories, because that's just, that's what's aligning with my personal goals with licensing right now. And so this is what it looks like. So these are some sales tags that I designed for a client a couple weeks ago. And I decided for the first time ever to lock up my name as being the dominant part, and then my logo, CatCoq, my company name, being secondary. And so this is kind of how I'm addressing this right now, because again, I want to be working with more companies that are putting artists forward. And so I'm leading with my name. And this is, again, just a personal choice, but I wanted to kind of lay that out for you as well. Whether you go with brand name, your own name, or something in between can depend on your goals, and it can absolutely shift and change over time. Like mine right now, it's kind of a little bit of a mixture of both, with both my name and my brand. And there's no right or wrong answer. Again, it just kind of depends on your goals. And something else that I don't want you to miss that I've been posting in the community is now turning into this like 3-part series. And so what happened was I had a discovery call a few months ago when I was on vacation in Italy. And I decided to, as soon as that call wrapped, I was like, okay, I'm just going to type it all out and post it in the community, because normally I never get to share stuff like this because it's private, I'm NDA'd, but we have our own private community. So I'm like, okay, for the first time ever, I can actually share some of this behind the scenes stuff. So go check out these posts. It's all within the same client, and I've kind of been kind of cataloging my journey with this client. And so, starting with the discovery call, what we talked about on the call, what they asked for, how I responded, the questions I asked them about the project. Part two was what I actually turned around and pitched to them based off of what we talked about on the call. So I include screenshots from our emails back and forth, all of that. So you can see exactly how I talk to a client, how they respond. If you want to snoop around and see, I know I'm always curious about that kind of thing. And part three was, by the way, after this, we signed the licensing deal. So I pitched, they liked what I had, we signed the deal, and then we moved forward. Part three is they actually sent me physical proofs here to my Airbnb in Budapest. So one thing I'm always recommending to you guys is always, always, always let the client know that you want to be approving proofs before something goes to print. Proofs is essentially meaning you want to see a screenshot or a PDF mockup of what your design is going to look like on that product. And for 99% of my licensing deals, they just send over a digital file. It's usually a PDF or even just like a screenshot or a JPEG. And what I'm looking for is my name, is my signature on that product, is anything getting cropped off in a weird way, anything that I need to adjust before it goes to print. And in very rare cases, the 1% of cases, they will send physical proofs. And this client sent physical proofs. They FedExed me these color samples because they're going to have the quantity of this deal. It's a really big deal, and the quantity of these products is going to be quite large. So it's going to be thousands of products in Office Depot, Staples, Office Max, Target. And so it's really important to make sure that what gets printed is going to actually look good on that final product. So they sent me proofs using the same substrate that the cover of the planners will have. And what I was looking for here was um, not do the colors match exactly what's on screen, because that will never be the case. One thing that I had to get used to early on with licensing is no product is ever going to have an exact color match to what I designed. Substrates are different. If something gets printed on fabric versus glossy paper versus matte canvas, colors shift. And so I've learned to let go of control on having exact color matches. I know it's just never going to be the case, but what I did look for when they sent these physical proofs was, is anything not translating well? And there actually were a few problems with contrast where some of the leaves and elements on this tiger design were sinking into the background too much and there wasn't enough contrast. So I'm glad they sent the physical proofs. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known because on the digital file, it looked fine. And so when I got back to them, I let them know about the contrast issue, and I asked if we could increase the budget to put like a little gloss on those areas where it was sinking into the background to differentiate. And they were like, no, 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 Kat, you already got your special process gold foil. You can't have anything else. So I went into the files, I adjusted the contrast, and I sent it back to them. And so, yeah, now we're moving full speed ahead. So as I have more updates, I'll just keep posting them in the collective. Please don't share this outside of the community, because this is, again, just between me and the client and all you guys as well. So yeah, I'll keep sharing how that's going. And we have our challenge this month. It's a niche product category. And so all of the challenges, all of the monthly challenges I've been giving in the community, it's not just what would be fun to illustrate. I mean, that's a huge part of it as well, but it's really what types of collections are going to give you the best chances to make money from this. And so these are types of collections, all of the challenges, food challenge, quote challenge, animals, seasons, things like that. This is about getting your portfolio robust enough that it's broad and you're going to have the most appeal across the board. And so what I wanted to actually share here was how this strategy worked for me for niche product category. So a few years ago, I was on a call with my agents and we were talking about gaps in my portfolio. And they said that one big gap you have that's a good opportunity is you don't have enough collections in tableware right now. I would get like maybe one or two licensing deals a year for like one-off tumblers or placemats or things like that, but I didn't really have like a big robust collection or product line with any companies, and so that was a big opportunity for me. And so what I literally did was I went through my collection deck, which is a lot of flat JPEGs, and I picked a few of those and I mocked them up. And so while I was going through this process, this is the types of thinking that this is actually why I gave you this challenge. I made a lot of intentional decisions to see how some of these designs would look on products. And so, like these three mushrooms right here, this was actually part of this really complicated pattern I designed. I never thought about pulling these out as standalones until I was putting these mock-ups together. And I was like, okay, what am I going to put on these plates? And I was looking through my Blooms and Shrooms collection, and I had the idea of what if I just do individual mushrooms, bam, spot illustration, and this actually got licensed. And so when I was back in the States a couple months ago, I got to finally open the product samples, photographed them in my brother's kitchen. That's his cat Juju. And it was really cool to see how the collection I pitched translated into these final products. So it's not an exact translation. Like this mushroom design right here was pulled from this mock-up. They made a few slight adjustments, got rid of the sparkles, put another mushroom in. They licensed this design, which is the same as this plate right here, but they wanted to use my retro sunshine color palette because it's the number one selling color palette I have in my portfolio right now. So, like Chrissy mentioned, she really uses a lot of the same colors for a lot of her artwork. I tend to do the same, not always, but for a lot of my designs, I'll throw retro sunshine color palette on it because that's my best selling color palette. And so, yeah, it was kind of cool to see how they selected the concept and then what it actually turned into with lots of back and forth. But this was also my very first client I've ever had that has turned my 2D artwork into 3D designs. So they made these salt shakers and little figurines, and it was really cool to see how they take something 2D and give it a 3D application. So I was nerding out over that. I was like showing my brother, and I'm like, "Isn't this amazing?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's a mushroom, but you guys will appreciate it a lot more seeing 2D artwork come into the 3D landscape." So yeah, that is again why this is our collection challenge for this month. As you're going through your portfolio, whether you're designing a new collection for the product, for the niche product category that you're doing, or you're taking an existing collection and kind of retrofitting it into this, these are the types of decisions that you'll be making. Kind of finding ways to pull out spot illustrations. Maybe you need a strong border, like I added for these plates, and it really gets you thinking commercially about these products. All right. I think we have time for a critique. So let's get back into critique time. And I'm going to be looking at Kelly's Marketplace collection. So, really, really beautiful. One thing Kelly does really well is she's got a lot of lovely detail, and it doesn't feel overworked. It feels perfectly worked, where she's got shadows, highlights, details coming through. And yeah, it's a very, very lovely collection. So when Kelly submitted it, I had her fill out my survey to understand goal with her art, types of feedback she's looking for. And I took everything that she wrote here and I worked it into this page here for what's working well and then suggestions for how to improve this collection. So working well, like I already mentioned, Kelly, you are an incredibly talented illustrator. You've got a beautiful style. You've got a great artistic voice, and I don't see any technical improvements for how you can improve your artistry. You've got a great grasp on how you actually illustrate. So that's looking really lovely. Marketability, which is something Kelly asked me about. Is this a marketable collection? How do I make this more enticing for buyers? I will say that subject matter is great. It's very trendy. I included it market fresh in my trends forecasting PDF for this year. And the great thing about collections like this is, yes, it's a cute farmer's market collection, but it also works for seasonal spring and seasonal summer. So she gets a lot of longevity and runway out of this. It's going to be appealing for multiple markets. I will say that the tomatoes right here in this net bag, I think this is probably the star design of this collection. My eyes went right to this. It's really lovely. I love the complementary color palette here with the mint against the red. One suggestion I have for you, Kelly, if you want to add to this collection, totally up to you, but I would use this as kind of your anchor of where you build from here. And I would think about, could you do maybe 3 more? So you've got a series of 4. You've already got the net bag of tomatoes. Maybe you could do, oh, I don't know, like a maybe like a little wicker basket with berries or, something. And so you could basically come up with 4 other pieces of fruit or produce in some sort of bag. Could be nice standalones. Things like this can work well for spot illustrations or for hero designs. You've got a lot of flexibility there. And also, one other thing I noticed in Kelly's collection was she has a lot of opportunities for spot illustrations. So, we just heard from Chrissy how pulling pieces out of her patterns made really strong spots. And it really just increased the way that the clients she worked with were able to use her designs. So, full, like in Kelly's case, it would be she has this beautiful full pattern of tomatoes. She could pull the slice out and the full tomato and showcase those as spot illustrations as well. A great place to put spot illustrations is if you're using mockups, you can show where the spot belongs on the mockup. In my example earlier, I used them on the center of the plates. Chrissy mentioned she had some of hers on throw pillows, where the spot would be on the throw pillow, the full pattern would be on the blanket. So really start thinking about those types of applications. In terms of suggestions that I've got for Kelly, one thing I had was this seed packet right here, this full scatter pattern. It's nice, but it's a little bit too tiny, and I can't make out any of the details. So, one suggestion that I have is you could pull out like one or two of these seed packets, showcase them as spot illustrations, and show them quite a bit larger. And what that does for you is kind of a two for one. One, you're showing how you can isolate out parts of your design to be licensed individually as spots. And it also shows all the detail that goes into these seed packets so that if I see a larger version over here and I see how detailed it is, I see how she structured it, then I inherently know that that's the level of detail that's in this pattern. And so I'm not missing out. So that can be a good, kind of a good approach for you there. Um, Hand lettering. So you don't always have to add hand lettering to all of your collections, but it can make them more marketable and more broadly appealing. And Kelly, since you specifically asked me, just give me all the tips for making this as marketable as possible. This would be something that I would have you consider, especially since you're already exploring some hand lettering over here on the market stall. And so when I'm thinking about hand lettering for a collection, this is what I key in on. Generic, wholesome, and positive. And so basically, I have ask yourself what would work well printed on a planner with this artwork behind it. I specified planner here because Kelly mentioned getting into stationery products. And so some ideas there would be again, generic, wholesome, positive, savor the season, gather and grow, joy in the little things, hello sunshine. I have three separate Hello Sunshine designs in my portfolio. One has lemons behind it, one has a literal sun behind it, and the other is just hand lettering all on its own. And all three of those consistently get licensed. And so something generic like Hello Sunshine, these do very well. You don't always have to stick to the same formula, generic, wholesome, positive, but in terms of broadly appealing approach for including copy, this is pretty much a home run. If you want to infuse more personality, you absolutely can. You can put humor in, puns, things like that, just thinking about your audience. But for generic, all-encompassing mass commercial appeal, this is the formula that I found works the best. And so to come up with these phrases, I actually just put my formula into ChatGPT and I was like, give me 20 phrases that are generic, wholesome, and positive that work with that kind of have a theme of market fresh artwork, farmers markets, things like that. And it spewed out a lot of bad ones, but a few gems in there as well. So this can be a really great approach. Another suggestion that I had for Kelly on this was her composition. So, really thinking about how these designs are going to work on products. And I'm going to zero in on the most complex illustration here, this market stall. For this, I would think of a product that you want to have this art printed on. And Kelly, since you mentioned stationery, let's go planner here, which is a vertical orientation. What you can do is literally mock this up on a product, and you'll be able to see what types of compositional adjustments that you might need to make. So maybe it's taking these barrels, bringing them tighter into the composition. Maybe it's centering the stepping stones, but really let the application on a mock-up kind of guide you, and that's going to help you kind of tighten in the composition a little bit more and get you thinking more about how does this look, on screen on a canvas versus what it might look like on the final product. And once you start thinking that way, it becomes a lot easier and more intuitive as you go. But a quick hack is start by working on mockups, and then you'll literally be able to see A to B what this looks like. So it can be a good approach. and the floral daffodil pattern, this one down here. I felt like this was a tiny bit too rigid. Usually when I have strong geometrics like this, I think it's translating better with these geometric shapes over here. For a form like this that's inherently just very fluid and organic, I do find that when I put patterns together with this kind of style, scatter patterns tend to work a little bit better. You don't have as much awkward space. And my approach to doing scatter patterns like this is I would literally just paint like three shapes. That would be the basic. One would be very complex, like this right here could be one of the shapes. This would represent the most complex shape. And then I would paint an individual bloom, like this right down here. And then I might paint an individual leaf. And then so there's kind of varying levels of complexity. And if you want to do like three complex, three medium, three little detail, that can help you get some variety. But then when you start piecing your pattern together by having these kind of like different levels of complex motifs that you're working together into a pattern, it can help you have the elements feel a little bit more snug, just a little bit more organic and flowing together like a true scatter pattern. So that would be my recommendation there. All right. I didn't think we were gonna have time for this, but I think we do. I think we have time for quick breakout sessions. So, breakout topic for this call is going to be, if a client said yes today, would you feel ready? Why or why not? And what we're gonna do is put you into groups of, oh, let's do maybe 3 or 4 and give you guys, let's see, is 6 minutes long enough, Amy? Can we do 6 minutes? That'll give you time, to have your breakout sessions with your small group. We'll do 6 minutes, and then, when we come back, we'll have just a couple minutes if anybody wants to come off mute and tell us what they learned, from their breakout session. That'd be wonderful. Well, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and have Amy put you guys in breakout sessions, with small groups, and again, the topic is, if a client said yes today, would you feel ready? Why or why not? All right, I'll see you guys on the other side. Hey guys. All right, I think everyone is gonna come back in. Awesome. Real quick, I wanted to address two things from the chat. One was Monica wanted to know, for those of us that are in the group now, does our membership end when the next collective starts? Nope, you are in. So you guys have your full access. The way I structured it is to stagger it so we get some overlap. So we have new students coming in with existing students, and I feel like that's the good combination for getting new, fresh ideas, and then, yeah, just a good supportive community and good structure. Something else, I was catching up on the chat when everybody was in their breakout rooms, and I saw that Nat Wilkes actually got a licensing deal from sending her first pitch. So huge congrats to Nat. Her exact quote was, "Since sending that first pitch, I've signed my first licensing contract." So heck yeah, Nat, that is incredible. It's YoungKit. It is a phone case company, and I like how you also scored a sample. That is awesome. So, yeah, huge congrats, Nat. This is the beginning of many incredible things for you. Awesome. Well, does anyone, I know we're at time, but if anybody wants to come off mute and share what they discussed in their breakout session, I'm really curious and I'd love to learn. Uh, Feel free. You could raise your hand and then Amy will take you off mute if you're interested in coming off and talking. Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Pretty good.
I did not know how to raise my hand, so I just like send a message.
Oh, the chat's good too. Yeah.
So I just had the smaller room with Isoon, and we just got to know that we live really close by. I don't know how we missed that, so we might be meeting soon, and that's a really nice thing. And we just chatted a bit. We actually didn't chat about the question that you mentioned, but we just chatted about what we are doing right now. Seems like we are both on the same path. We are both creating our holiday collections. I did mine with acrylics. She's doing hers with watercolors. So she's both of us are creating patterns, and we are hoping to make our first pitches either this month or the next month for sure. Because most of the companies that are looking for Christmas collections are looking right now. I saw a few deadlines which were like the end of August or something. So I hope we both send in the messages on the group saying we've done our first pitch for sure. Yeah.
That's amazing. I just love the idea of accountability buddies because
Mhm.
it's just an easy way to stay on track and help someone else stay on track as well. And how cool that you guys live close to each other. You should absolutely meet up.
Yes, we should meet up and we'll soon be sharing our pictures together too.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing, and please keep us posted when you're sending the pitches, what you hear back, how you're pitching. We just love to support you all along the way.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Does anyone else want to come off mute and share? Amy is nodding. Amy is facilitating. Thank you, Amy.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you
Can you hear
doing?
me? I'm great. Um, I was just chatting with Stacy Bonner briefly, and we were both kind of spotlighted me later, um, talking about researching and finding the appropriate people to pitch to. So I'm kind of like locked and loaded, ready. I sent my first pitch, which was as my daughter. I was saying to Stacy, I am a big person. My daughter is like this big. She just turned 10 and she's like, Mom, it looks great. Just go for it. What are you waiting for? And I was like, okay. So we all need a Ruby. But it's so time consuming finding the appropriate person to pitch to. So Stacy had mentioned some people are saying like contact customer service and they can, take that extra step to really get to the right person rather than sending it to like info@target.com or whatever. Um, so that's just my rambling. That's kind of where I am is like needing to be more intentional, is my goal this week to find more people rather than just like generic um, companies. So what's your take? I know there have been resources shared, but I know
I think
go ahead, go.
Yeah, I think it's a great strategy. If you're ever not sure the actual email to send, but you find a customer support, you can don't frame your pitch like, "Hey, customer support, I'd love to pitch myself." You can
Yeah.
frame it as, "Hey, I am an artist interested in licensing. I would love to speak with the correct person or correct department about licensing," and then kind of go from there. And I think that's also kind of echoing a lot of what Chrissy said about her pitches. She kept them. It was the strategy was be friendly, be very helpful and offering to do whatever it takes. It's a collaborative process and being professional at the same time. So I think, yeah, leading with that of if you're ever not sure who you're actually emailing customer support, just be like,
Mhm.
hey, I'd love to be, if I could be pointed in the right direction of who I should be addressing this or sending this email to. I think that can
Yeah.
be really great strategy.
And then I did say in one of my like weekly wins or something like I did find a specific wrapping paper company that I pitched to and found the person. It said we're always looking for new artists. So I will share that in the sharing resources section, because I don't
Yeah.
know that my style is what they maybe gravitate towards, but some of you all that are like more painters and like watercolor and like more detailed. So I'll put that in there. So look for that. And then if I find any other ones, that might be fun. So I really appreciate how transparent you are, Kat, and everyone. So I'll
Thanks.
try to throw in if I can.
I think that'd be wonderful, and I do wanna say, like, I know Chrissy mentioned when she was speaking that she was only reaching out and contacting companies where she had a really good style match, but I feel like and I almost wanted to address this when she was talking, but I was like, "Oh, I'll save it for after." I think that as artists, we can self-select ourselves out of opportunities before we even give it a chance, and so, Chrissy, I think that's a great strategy for her, and she's very decisive and very confident in her work, but don't like take that advice in and keep yourself from pitching what would be like,
Totally.
oh, it's only 50% match. Put it in there. And
Yeah.
also, yeah, like same thing with portfolio. My whole portfolio that's, on my agent's website, it has the whole kit and caboodle, even designs that I'm like, I'm not really super into that, but I'm gonna put it in there and see what happens. That stuff still gets licensed too. And it can totally be separate from what you are publicly presenting, your brand book, what you have on your website, what you showcase on your Instagram. You can show best of the best, but those duds can still be really great opportunities for licensing deals. So I think, throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you so
thanks so
much.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming off mute and talking. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up this call for today. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining. Let's keep these conversations going in the community. Keep an eye out tomorrow. You're going to get several emails from me probably because I'm going to be posting several things to the announcements. So I'll link to the odd event calendar and the 6-month roadmap. And I will also link to the Zoom call that I'm doing on Tuesday, the 22nd. So yeah, we can go from there. All right, take care and have a good rest of your month. All right, adios.